me step in?
Hi everyone, I'm Julianne Lima. I'm here with former Rhode Island State Police Superintendent Stephen O'Donnell. His son was in Las Vegas last night. He was at the concert where a gunman opened fire on thousands of people, and we're going to ask him a few questions. If you have any questions for Mr. O'Donnell about the shooting or about his experience in law enforcement and situations like this, please feel free to comment below. So I'm going to turn it over now. I guess just to start, how did you wake up this morning? I know it was a very scary situation for you and your wife.
It was a phone call from my oldest son, who was a state police detective who was on vacation in Las Vegas at the concert on the Strip in Vegas, and tell him he's involved in an active shooter. So it was kind of a confusing conversation that he was engaged or not engaged. So quickly learned that he was in the middle of this craziest event ever happened in the history of this country. So he told me he was fine. He had to go, and you could hear, the ripple gunshots in the back. So I asked him, "Is that automatic weapons?" He yes. Said, "I know you're not okay. Get out of there," and all those type of things you would say. He said, "I'm fine. We're going to a safe place." So about an hour and 50 minutes later, we couldn't talk. We didn't communicate. I was texting him, calling him, nothing. So everything goes through your mind like every other parent. What happened? And I kept thinking of 9/11, where parents or some loved ones would talk to each other, and then they never talked to each other again, and something, they died. That's all we could think of. My wife was with me, and my other sons, so it was kind of a nightmare situation for parents. Understanding the business, so I kind of could put it in a better place than my wife, but she couldn't. So long story short, about an hour and 15 minutes later, when we kept calling, his girlfriend picked up his phone. She said she was fine, he was fine. She was very emotional, but he had gone back and he's helping triage and help different victims, but she wanted to make sure we knew he was okay. So that was calming, and then a half hour later period, Conor would get on the phone and call us and tell us what was happening, and just to keep you informed. So there's issues getting in touch with them on cell phones, which is common these type of events, but as I told you earlier, it's great, and we're so proud of what he did, how he acted, and how his girlfriend acted, Esther Reynosa, her name is. But also, it's tempered by knowing that at least 50 other people died there, and 400 to 500 people are seriously injured. So there's no happiness except, that self-happiness that your own child's okay, but it just brings in all different fears of a parent or anybody, just an American, that this could happen, and obviously it can happen.
Right, and obviously a situation you probably never dreamed you would ever have to live through, and thank God your son is okay, and again, prayers to all those affected. We were talking earlier about the profile of a mass shooter and how, there isn't always a clear warning sign. They don't always have criminal records. Talk a bit about, in your perspective, what people can do if they ever feel that something seems off and it doesn't, your advice, I guess, going forward in other situations that may develop.
My advice would be, anytime you see something strange and different, see something, say something. That's what Homeland Security teaches as their mantra. But do that. And every active shooter that's happened around the world in the last 30 years, maybe even more, has had some sign. Something was there. If it was Sandy Hook, there was a sign something was going on. And I think people sometimes don't want to tell, or so-and-so has a problem, or this event, obviously down the road, it will probably be found out that this person showed signs of something. Either it was a domestic issue or a hate issue, but who does something like this without acting out somewhere where there's indicators? So if you see them, bring them to someone's attention. Law enforcement, they have a fusion center, it's a terror watch center, where troopers and local police and FBI go out and vet these leads. And if the leads don't lead to anything, then so be it, but maybe it can prevent some. And sometimes it does. So put it on police radar. That's what they get paid for. There's not a policeman that's not going to go on to prevent something like this from happening. So pick up the phone, let somebody know if it's erratic behavior. A good point of that is in Warwick, several years ago, there was a terrorist that was arrested in Warwick, and he was acting out and doing things, and certain neighbors after said they didn't want to do that because they felt that they would be accused of being racially biased or religious bias. So if, again, you see something that's awkward, unusual, pick up the phone, let someone know. It's law enforcement's job to pursue that.
Right, and finally, your son is a state trooper. He got to safety and then immediately went to help people who were injured. How do you feel as a father knowing that you raised a person so brave and willing to help others in a time like that?
Well, it's a proud moment, but again, it's tempered by knowing that some people lost their lives in a situation like that. But Conor's no different from every state trooper, every first responder. That's how they operate. They did it 9/11, they did it the Pulse shooting, they did it San Bernardino, they did it here. And there's also people that aren't trained to going back to help, because the goodness comes out really in these events. So if it's any learning experience from it, maybe people could be more tempered and more civil, that, you know, why does something like this has to happen? And that'll all get analyzed in the next couple months, and hopefully it may prevent something in the future. But the way we're set up as a society, unfortunately around the world, it's probably going to happen again.
All right. Well, former Rhode Island State Police Colonel Stephen O'Donnell, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you.
And we will, of course, continue tracking this horrible tragedy out of Las Vegas all day long. We'll have another update on Eyewitness News at noon, and then live coverage starting at 5 o'clock tonight.